All right, I'm gonna stand over here for a second. So the deal is, I get completely nervous talking in front of people I don't know. So what we're gonna do is we're all gonna take a deep breath together. Does that work for everybody? Yeah. So I'm gonna count in 3, 2, 1. We're gonna do a big deep breath and I'm gonna get on with this. Is that all right? Good, all right. 3, 2, 1, breathe in. And breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. And breathe in. And I'm ready. All right, cool. Sorry, that's just really helpful for me. Kenneth, is this your computer? Can I close it? Kenneth? It's not here. Okay, I don't want to fuck that up, so I'll leave that alone. All right, so this is my life. Clean your studio, draw on walls, don't break stuff, and radical is close to home. These are my genuine truths, and this is like, you're gonna see it. My name's Akil, that's me. I would like to meet people today. Take my number, text me. I wanna make friends, it's like, I don't mind. I do text back, I promise. But at COMUZI, my job is head of research and strategy. So COMUZI is a design and innovation studio, put simply. We work with clients to address challenging problems, and we focus on human-centered design to solve them. We do a lot of futures work, and we say we model the future to inform the present. That's COMUZI. And you'll see a lot of our work all throughout this talk. My job role is head of strategy. And so head of research and strategy. And so I spend a lot of time doing things because of that. I spend a lot of time telling people to do this. I spend a lot of time doing that. I have a lot of these moments. And lastly, I like to leave a room sounding like with someone saying this because that means I did my job, or some semblance of it. And I usually give people fist bumps, and that's my success point. Ask anyone that knows me. But in 2017, I had a really shit year. Like, I had a year that my business was about 3. We kind of almost got sued. It kind of really did ruin my life. We didn't get sued in the end. But with that whole thing, I literally had to rebuild myself, my team, and my business. And what does that mean when you're running around at 17, 18, wearing suits, going around town, being everything apart from yourself? That leads to depression, that leads to anxiety, that leads to upset, that leads to everything that you don't like as an individual. And in your shittest moment, you turn around and say, okay, what the hell am I gonna do now? I said, all right, I'm gonna live. Ooh, that's good. But what does that actually mean? Am I gonna live the same way? That's a bit not good for me. And so I decided to wake up and say I would live differently. Okay, means I don't do the same thing again and again and again if I know it's gonna have the same outcome. That's insanity. Don't wanna go insane, we're already there. We didn't want to keep perpetuating those negative behaviors. And so what do you do to find your way out? Well, you kind of say, I don't want to be here, I want to be over there. Over there is a much healthier space for me, and so I'm going to make every decision that I can to keep me over there and progressing in that direction. Now, this mindset has literally permeated my whole life. It's changed my whole life. You see, I've got dreadlocks, my hair grew, I don't wear suits anymore, not even a dicky bow. I remember when we went to go open our business account at Metro Bank, I think I wore a bow tie to that meeting. Yeah, I was a different person. Growth's amazing. But living differently is really important because it's completely changed my life. It's permeated everything I do. And because of that, it's influenced my work and my philosophies. And so I need to show you this. I've got a cultural reference to show you, but it makes sense, and I will explain it. It's Gucci Mane. And, but For us, we call radical source. What is your source? Everyone has their own independent version of their source. But finding it, that's the tricky part. But I want you to hear this, just quickly, and I'll explain it if you didn't understand. I'll do the translation.
Is it hard to be fresh if you don't have money, or can you still pull it off?
See, when I ain't had no money, I still had sauce. See, if you don't got no sauce, then you're lost. But you can also get lost in the sauce.
You can how you get lost in the sauce?
Man, a bitch gonna get lost in the sauce, man. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, man.
I'm sprinkling sauce, dropping sauce every street, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I dig it.
Overdose of sauce.
That's what it is.
No meat, just sauce.
When you're born, can you be born with sauce, or do you acquire
No,
sauce?
you can't born with sauce.
You get sauce. You get sauce from.
How you gonna be born with seasoning? You gotta get seasoned. I wasn't born with all this sauce.
Hell yeah.
I had to acquire this sauce.
All right, the reason why that's important is because Gucci Mane said 3 important things. Number 1, when you're broke, you can still have sauce. COMUZI spent a lot of its early years broke, and we still produced a lot of great work. I'm really proud of it. So number 1, you can be radical without any resources, or you can use what you have available. Number 2, you can get lost in the sauce. You can take it too far, you can go over the top, everyone's heard it. Number 3, no one's born with it. And because no one's born with it, it's a practice. And I like to believe it's a practice because that keeps us honest. Our goal, COMUZI's goal, is to always make sauce. And this talk, which I'm going to now take you all the way through, is our quest to discover our version of radical. When I get to the end, I'll show you all the work, but in between, I'm going to tell you all the thinking that got us there. So step 1, clean your studio. This is not my studio. This is a picture off the internet. Let's clear that up right now. But the truth is, when I walk into my studio on a Monday morning, when the garbage isn't taken out, my coffee mug is still on my table since Friday, my desk looks not like that, and I don't know what the hell to do anymore, and I feel kind of lost. Step 1, maybe I've got a choice to make, you know? Am I going to stand here and die, literally, or am I going to know that I've come this far, get really mad or frustrated, sulk for a bit, and then say, okay, we're going to clean the studio? I always choose option B. I always choose to move forward, and that's always because I chose to live. Remember that thing? I chose to live, so I always choose to not stand here and die. I choose to move forward. And then I choose to plan. I write down all my crap and I plan, what's urgent, what's important, how do I get this out of my face right now, and how do I move forward? Forward, and forward. You can see I'm obsessed with it. But once you, okay, you want to move forward, what do you do next? I was like, yeah, draw on walls. Once you mapped out all your problems, for me, I find lines really, difficult to work in. And I'm from a West Indian household, so my mum, the concept of me drawing on walls to my mum, yeah, I probably wouldn't have been here today if I did that. But it allows me to make space for things. It allows me to join things up. People draw on walls, I'm a fan. It allows me to see relationships and patterns. It allows me to go and get validation from other people. It's great, and that's my mum. I got my mum drawing on walls in the middle of a project, how times have changed. But this whole idea of being able to pick up an idea and physically move it and place it next to another idea just so you can see what happens is actually really important to me. As much as I work in digital and build digital products, this physical space thing is really important to me. And it allows not just for collaboration, or no, not just for validation of your ideas because someone else can see it, but it also allows for collaboration. If you shut up, open your ears and listen, and allow yourself to hear what someone else's point of view on the same situation is, you give yourself options. When we get further in the talk, you'll see a lot of this stuff is about decisions and choices and choices and choices. And when you're stuck in only so many choices, the stuff that you know already, you're going to kind of make the same thing over and over and over again. And you're going to expect different outcomes. It's not going to happen. The collaborating with others, opening up this field for more voices, more people, more, like, gives you more opportunity. And I like opportunity, and I like options. I don't like being, like, cornered into something and forced to make a decision. And the question is, it's true, are you brave enough to listen? Listening isn't, like, the most active thing, because people don't actually use the words they mean. They use every other word around it, and so you kind of have to like listen for the insight. Fortunately, I'm a researcher, so I'm a bit practiced. But what that allows you to do when you see a different perspective, well, you can accept it or not. You can ask yourself, does this help or hinder me? If it helps, take it. If it hinders, don't. But at least you've got to make the decision. Don't break things. Now, this is where it actually gets really important, so I'm actually going to look at my notes. Did we learn from the first, second, or third iteration that we're going through of the internet? Did we actually? Last time I checked, many lives were ruined by the internet. It's not even a joke. Many lives have actually been ruined by the internet. And like, the internet tells you what democracy is now. So maybe we want to start paying attention to the nice AI tools we start putting on there. Those automated decisions that don't have human input all the time. Now, just to clear everything up, anything that's probably artificially intelligent in front of you is probably not the thing that you think it is. It's probably just an algorithm, program, hyper-focused on a specific job that you're trying to get done. There's now things called Multiagent AI, which is different AIs trying to work on the same problem, complex problems, but this is usually what you're working with. Examples being navigating the tube, self-driving cars, Siri, Gmail, Amazon, Google. These are all, like, AI is everywhere, to be honest. You don't even know it. It's stupid pervasive. But this is why I asked you, this is why we're saying don't break things. When you work with emerging technology and you realize now that the decisions you make in the design space might not be fact-checked or audited, and they might be going to many or millions, that kind of changes things, especially when you ask when this happens. I love Catherine Tate, that was hilarious. But when this happens, there's a lot of problems. And when this happens in the third generation of the internet, there's even more problems. So what happens when your mortgage application was said no, or you were given a higher rate than someone else in a similar position? How do you find out that even happened? Like, okay, we found out about PPI years late, and then we had this whole mess. I don't even think we'll find out if this happens. I think that's bad. What happens when you're applying for universal credit and an automated decision rejects your application for universal credit, and you need benefits and you need serious help, and the computer says no? These are people's lives we're playing with. Or what happens when you've made an algorithm or a program to make sentencing recommendations for individuals to inform judges on what on earth to do? This is a ProPublica study. You can Google it, ProPublica, Compass, those two keywords will get you to about here. And this was a story as what I described, but you can see it's really, 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 really wrong. It's like the lie detector test. But these are like making decisions on people's lives, and governments are trying to roll these things out. And so when I say don't break things, when we're building these complicated systems that have high impact, maybe we want to stop and reflect on how it might affect an individual's life before we click go live. It's not saying don't do this. It's not saying don't attempt to build these tools. I think it's more a practice of embedded ethics. Now, embedded ethics is a term I only heard last year at a CogX party, but I realize it's something we've all been attempting to practice for a while. How do you be kind? How do you not be a bad person? How do you not further marginalize anyone that you're looking to help, assist, or work with? How can you bake those viewpoints into your technology? How can you make it live, breathe, and sing and not deviate from the greater good that you're trying to do? Now, Kenneth spoke about it in his talk, and I didn't even know that. But in terms of tools and things to use, this is really interesting. So Everyone is a think tank, a tech for good think tank, and it was founded by Martha Lane Fox, and we did some work with them over the last 8 months. But they showed me this, and I thought this was powerful. Google it. I told people to Google stuff a lot. Consequence scanning allows you, especially if you're in a group of people, to work out the good, the bad, and the ugly of what could happen if you deploy this product. And if you get 5 competent people in the room, you'll probably get through most of them. As Kenneth said, you won't get through all of them, but you'll get through most of them. And what this does is gives you more opportunities and more options, because now you get to work out how things you want to mitigate, the things you want to amplify, and the things you want to even take and push even further. That's kind of amplifier times 2. But this consequence scanning technique and this piece doesn't actually take long. You think, oh yeah, I'm gonna how can I describe? It's gonna take me forever if I start thinking about ethical considerations of my work in my agile sprint. No, it takes 30 minutes. Invest 30 minutes and impact a few million lives. I think it works. I think the cost-benefit analysis pays off every time. And so my point of view now has evolved into this. Do no harm, the doctor's what's their doctor's philosophy, trumps don't be evil. We've known that for a while, I'm just saying it again. Do no harm, trumps don't be evil. Evil is down to perspective. It's just down to perspective, whereas do no harm means I'm genuinely not trying to hurt another individual, digitally, physically, whatever, just not. And as designers, I believe we're kind of all complicit in one way, shape, or form in this. And so what choice do you want to make? Very simple. Just what choice do you want to make? More choices. But okay. Radicals close to home. Now, don't drop. Sorry, I'm just catching up my notes. I had things to tick off. Da, 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 da. If we recap on the last 20 minutes, my perspectives have been, I choose to live, I like my options, space to think out, solve problems is essential, do no harm is good, and what that translates into is I'm always trying to move forward, I'm always trying to seek opportunities beyond my own horizon, and I'm trying to be less complicit in negative behaviors of the internet. Now, how many times did I say choices in the last 20 minutes? When you do the same thing over and over and over again, it's insanity. And so, for me, radical is really close to home because it's a decision away. When you realize, oh yeah, I did it before in that project and it came out like that and it got that outcome and I'm sure it will do that. Why? This problem isn't that problem. Even if they look the same, they're different based on time alone. So how about we explore some options? We just worked out a load of where to find them. And I'm not saying be crazy with it. I'm not saying press the go live button without testing it out. Not at all. I'm saying test these things out. I'm saying experiment. I'm saying explore new avenues and horizons and new things, because we've got these challenges that we've been trying to address again and again and again and again and again with the same kind of viewpoint, and we're not getting anywhere. So maybe we need something new. Radical versus insanity. Does it make sense? Does it start to make sense now? If insanity is over here doing the same thing again and again and again, and radical is a choice away, I'm kind of trying to create my own spectrum of doing something over there and doing something different. I like doing the different. We choose that every time. But now I get to show you some work. I get to show you what that difference actually is, how it comes out, and what it looks like for us at COMUZI. We put humans at the center of our work all the time. I'm going to talk you through about 4 projects in 9 minutes. It's gonna be fun. But radical versus insanity, we choose insanity. We choose radical all the time. I don't like insanity. Yeah, okay. Good, good, good. Okay. The last thing I'd like to say is, if you can now see this as a spectrum, insanity over here, radical over here, you have ample opportunity to now shift the needle away from the thing you don't like. It's not about being extreme. Remember what Gucci Mane said? You can get lost in the sauce. It's not about being over there all the time. It's about just that nice position where you've shifted the needle forward, progressed someone's life, use your opportunity to design to progress society and culture, and do something nice. Now, this was a project we got from BBC R&D. It was our first big project. It felt great. And they called us. Thank you, BBC, and thank you, Tristan Fern. But their brief was, what's the future story formats for the news? That's hard for your first time out the gate, man. But we persevered, we took our philosophies, we took our methodologies, and we attacked the problem. Once you do user-centered design and you sit down and you actually speak to your users, you start hearing things. Remember I was talking to you about how are you willing to listen? You start hearing things, and they're called insights. The insight for this was, the news assumes too much of me. I don't know anything that's going on. It's written for a white man that's not me. This was a middle-aged white woman that said this. The last point was, I just hate reading. They absolutely just hate reading. These are the insights that came when I'm trying to study the news. They're helpful, right? But what came out of it was we actually just started assessing how people consume information, how people consume content, because that's what we're trying to do, right? Tell stories. New story formats for the news. Let's look at the brief. Story formats. Story for story. Ooh, I can tell stories? Yeah, I like that. And so we started working out how people consume information. Now, even from these wireframes, you can tell it looks a little bit like a hybrid of Snapchat and Instagram put together. How do people watch stories? We said, why can't we reformat it for the news? And this is what we did. We created something called Perspectives. Perspectives allowed you to take one topic and see it from multiple different points, hear from different points of view, and so you can discern and make your own choice of what you choose to believe. Now, that's a really powerful thing for the news, since a lot of our newspapers have bias, even the Beeb. And so, take a look at this.
At the lights, they surround the delivery rider who jumps off his bike. What you can't see is the knife in the robber's hand.
The money is gone.
No,
But if you decided not to carry a knife, then it's one less problem on the street.
yeah, that's one less person carrying a knife. There's how much other people carrying a knife.
I'm going to skip through this, but I want you to hear the different voices in the video.
In the last months, and we need to reduce the number, particularly the number of young people who are dying in street attacks, where often ferocious violence used by other young people in groups, usually.
Now, COMUZI is really interesting. Me and Alex love to choose topical problems. When we were doing this, we had a knife crime epidemic in London, like we always do. And so we said, okay, we get to show a story format. We did that successfully. We're going to show a story format to speak on something that we think is important, knife crime. Okay, these are good things. But you'll see there's a theme in our work where we choose situation points to explain things out a little bit more. I think knife crime's important. I think this one was really important, and this one actually won an award, I think, because of how engaging it was. And we tested this stuff out. You don't just wake up and say, I want to recreate Snapchat stories and just throw it live. You test it, it works. This is another one. This is a project we did with Projects by If. They asked us how to explain an algorithm without a manual or explaining an algorithm. Another great brief. We're good at really difficult, challenging briefs. I think this is why Simon liked our work. Turns out you can, and turns out it's really simple. You underline a little bit, you show some bar graphs, you ask permission. Imagine AI asking permission. Crazy. And this time we used a fictional mental health chatbot called Moodjar. The reason being is because we found there's an increase in a lot of when we were doing this work last year, we found that there was an increase in a lot of young people using mental health chatbots because they like the objectivity of it. They like the fact that it wasn't like their mum or dad or friend. They actually liked talking to a computer. But they wanted to be informed and not told. That changes the complete tone of how you write for it. They wanted to understand where their data was being stored, and they wanted to understand how this thing was profiling them and making decisions for them to give them help. Underlinings, picking out keywords because it's not actually reading the whole text, bar graphs and tracking, do you want to be remembered? You start doing stuff like this, it's not too bad, is it? It starts to look like, or sound like, or feel like some embedded ethics. It's not a bad thing, and it can be done at scale, I promise. It just takes all of you to come join us. And so what IF did is they built out some patterns. And so now they can take these patterns and layer them on different things or different products or different services because the thinking's right, the insight works. It was tested. And so now you can use this pattern when conversating with AI. It's nice to know, especially if you don't know if you're talking to a human or not. You can actually work out how this thing is working with you. Don't you find it so frustrating when you're using that, when you're in a help function and you now get the automated chatbot and the chatbot just doesn't respond to your rage, doesn't seem urgent enough? Wouldn't it be helpful if you saw what words it was picking out so you could use better words to communicate with it? It's a two-way street. Human beings, like, when you work with a human being or talk with a human being, you get to see how they react to what you say. It's not the same with a computer, and at least the crazy frustration on top of frustration equals a bad customer experience. Why are we doing that to ourselves? Let's do some research, let's make some patterns, let's test it. Now, I love this piece because another interesting one. This is the piece of work we did for Wolf and Forest. All right, crap, I'm running out of time. This is the piece of work we did for Wolf and Forest. The brief was, how do we design an opportunity bank for young people to access opportunities in the borough? What the hell is an opportunity bank? Turns out, an opportunity bank is just a local hub where young people can go to have fun and enhance themselves or just try stuff out and gain experiences, opportunities and experiences. Once you do the insights and realize that young people want actually space, they don't like digital things, hate forms, average reading age of 7, and don't really see this as opportunity or anything else. They just want to have fun. How do you frame that conversation to work out? We made something called Makes. Makes is a chatbot which, Makes is a chatbot which broke out the form that these young people would fill out and then made it into a conversational experience. It changed everything. The uptake was just a lot more. This was the prototype, and as I said, COMUZI modeled the future to inform the present. And so what this ended up being developed into was almost a click-through quiz instead of a form. And so they're working towards some reality which might not even look like this, but has this energy, effort, and insight behind it. And because young people actually wanted space, we decided to utilize all the dead space in the borough. We decided to have a pop-up bank which could just land in every location and give accessible opportunities to young people to come and engage with them. These are the things where we say radicals close to home, because in every one of these decisions, we made a different choice. Granted, we tested it. I keep saying we tested it, make a different choice and test it, it's good for you. But when you make these choices, you just can create different pieces. You can create new ways of addressing these solutions. These ways haven't been seen before. To do the Wolf and Forest work, people wanted to say, oh yeah, we want to make Tinder. We want to match Tinder. And I was like, when we tested out that idea, it didn't land very well. The problem was too nuanced for that solution. But this is what happened. We're really proud of it. Radicals close to home. I showed, I'm being serious, and it's only a decision away, I promise. But the way we get good at identifying where we can make these decisions to make the most impact is through retros. Like retrospectives. Can you sit down and look at what you previously did and say that could be done better? Are you brave enough to hear the truth and hear a client say, I like that, but I didn't like that? Are you brave enough to go back and look at what you actually did in the heat of the moment? These things just provide you, again, more opportunity. With more opportunity, you can make a different choice and you can be radical. I told you it was close to home. But okay, Back to the spectrum. Oh, the slide didn't upload. Back to the spectrum. Can we push it on both sides? We already know what insanity looks like. I chose to live. So on this side, what does radical look like in this furthest point that we can make for ourselves? This is an art piece that we made for the Mozilla Foundation. It's an invisible mask. The whole point of it was the UK is one of the most surveilled cities in the world outside China. We just got given GDPR. Man, we're leaving Europe, but we just got given GDPR. You're giving me my privacy and you're taking it away all in the same sentence. Where's my opt-out? And so you're like, okay, what's that toggle button? What does it look like? What does it feel like in physical space? Remember I told you about physical space? It's a hat. It comes on, it comes off, like your choice. It's got some infrared in it and it just helps you dodge. It blurs your face a little bit. Now you're not seen, invisible mask. These things are very important. So my next question for you is, these are my explorations. These are my literal points of making different choices. I did test them, so I'm only showing you the ones that worked out. At least I'm honest with you. But my question for you is like, what choice do you make next? Now you know. Now you see it. Now you can work out everything you've done before. What do you want to do? Thank you very much.